This video might make you cry. IDK, watch till the end. So something must be in the air, because lately, I've been missing Steven Universe, cranking out a few TikToks, rewatching some old episodes, and I even put out a tweet to my wonderful followers on twitter.com, give me a follow, about how I just might make some SU content in 2022. But then, basically, as soon as I tweet this, Ian JQ, former executive producer and spouse of Rebecca Sugar, made a very exciting and honestly random tweet of his own, expressing the desire for Cartoon Network to allow them to produce more Steven Universe. Before swiftly deleting this tweet, because a tweet about the gay rock show means Rebecca's ops are lurking in the shadows, waiting for their chance to slander Cartoon Network's golden child. Which, not to already go off on a tangent in the intro of this video, I completely understand this for one's mental health, but also, Ian shouldn't have folded this easily. We can't let some losers on the internet run off any goodwill for the show. And I'm sure if it stayed up, we would be looking at a situation where it amassed tens of thousands of retweets and attracted much more positivity than negativity. The Steven Universe slander has always been there, but it only got to where it was because the show ended. And a comeback, I feel, would wash it away completely. Actually, here's a test to see if someone truly doesn't care for Steven Universe, or if they're just being all sorts of phobic.
But phobia means fear. I'm not scared of.
Shut up! If they simply say this show wasn't for them, okay, valid. If they liked this show at a certain point but felt it dipped in quality in the later seasons, okay, valid. If they regurgitate any points from Lily Orchard's algorithm-pleasing but overall pretty horrendous hit piece on the show, or have no legitimate legs to stand on besides memes dunking on it, you can safely tune them out because they don't have the slightest clue of what they're actually talking about. Sorry about it. Back on track though, I have a lot of thoughts surrounding the potential return of Steven Universe and how such a project should be done. I don't intend for this video to be super long, but assuming this reaches all my old Steven Universe viewers, you know I can be pretty long-winded to get some simple ideas across. It's the ADHD, what can I say? Roll the intro!
Here we are in the future and it's bright. I can't believe we've come so far. Happily ever after, here we are.
Well, since I'm speculating on the future of Steven Universe again, I guess I could say the line for old time's sake. Welcome back to Crystal Clear! I'm Ostrich Vox, and in an age of reboots, spin-offs, and unnecessary sequels galore, most people have started to respond to the notion of a series coming back from the grave with, it had a good run, just let it stay dead.
I say let it die! Let it die, let it die, let it shrivel up and...
Which is extremely reasonable. A lot of things fail to recapture the magic they once had, or fail to create a new kind of magic that justifies its existence. However, Steven Universe from the jump is a much different story. The original series only came to the abrupt end that it did because of Hyros at the time cutting it short for multiple factors, one of which being the, at the time, high-risk wedding between Ruby and Sapphire, something Rebecca was not going to compromise on. You know how the story ends though. Rebecca pushes for a movie. They get the movie. While making the movie, Cartoon Network kind of backtracks on their decision and hits Rebecca with
Can you please make more episodes,
leading to the 20-episode epilogue series, Steven Universe Future. And when that ended, Rebecca made it clear in interviews that they didn't intend for Future to be a permanent goodbye, but a temporary one. And although they had ideas for the trajectory of these characters, Steven Universe drew a lot from Rebecca's own life experience. And with the end of Future, they more or less caught up to those experiences. It was time for them to go back to living life and working on other things. Lucky for them, but also terrible for them and the rest of civilization, the literal second the show ended, the universe decided to throw at us 10 years of life experience in only 2. I am very tired. Needless to say, Steven Universe coming to an end was actually the first bad omen in a string of many never-ending misfortunes. But hey, Rebecca should have plenty of life experience to write about now, cool! However, what really captures my attention with this proposal of let us make more is the sheer fact that Ian is including himself in this. And if you're someone who felt that the show fell off after season 2 or 3, but adored those first few seasons, then Ian's involvement should have you very excited. Again, Ian's the former executive producer, heavily involved with those early days of the show, and very much influenced various aspects of the show on both a narrative and artistic level. Although Rebecca was always steering the ship, it is her show after all, Ian was very much the co-captain in my eyes, and the magic they both brought forth as a power couple definitely dissipated from the average episode of the show once he left to make OKKO, which, even though it's been over for 3 years, I still highly recommend checking out because it is a relentless endlessly funny, relentlessly charming show with a satisfying beginning, middle, and end. I still think Steven Universe is fantastic in its later seasons, even if that's mainly relegated to the story-driven episodes. But jumping from late season 1 to season 4 or 5, it does feel like a different show in execution. Ian returning to Steven Universe in that same executive producer role, alongside a creatively rejuvenated Rebecca, just sounds like something too good to pass up on. But it cannot be in the same format or demographic as it was before. It needs to be something different. In the same vein, Future was different from the original series. Granted, I know not everyone is the biggest fan of Future. It's the most divisive installment of the entire franchise. And I think, just like the original series, that boils down to how your own personal experience will affect your perception and enjoyment of the series. While I understand if you don't like aspects of Future status quo or how uncomfortable and real it got in tone, I personally dug its vibe and prefer its tone over the original series, even if I ultimately got more enjoyment out of Steven Universe proper. Future's still my favorite part of the series because I was going through what Steven was going through just a year or two prior to this epilogue series starting up. The little intervention and mental breakdown scene in particular felt like I was reliving an exact experience that at the time was fresh in my memory. Yeah, while I was on here yelling about my little cartoon theories to all of you, I was also out in the trenches of mental health, fighting for my life. Future is such a brutally honest depiction of mental health to me, and I cherish it greatly. That being said, this dreadful period of the world we entered in 2020 has led to a lot of us going through our own much-needed character arcs, and honestly, unlike Future, I wouldn't be surprised if the life experiences that would shape this next chapter are some that can be relatable on a universal scale. Furthermore, now that Cartoon Network's branching out with upcoming projects that not only see a return of diverse art styles, but offering stories for different demographics, like Fiona and Cake promising to be the first Adventure Time series for a young adult audience, I think Steven Universe could take cues from both of these things. Signify that this is a completely new chapter of the series by giving the art style and direction a fresh coat of paint, maybe something that's a bit more true to Rebecca Sugar's art style, or maybe something more anime-esque, implementing and refining details found in episodes done by Jeff Liu, Mickey Brewster, or Maya Peterson. A Steven Universe that's a bit more dynamic with sharp edges. Basically, I want to see an evolution in an art style that calls to mind the same jump that Ben 10 had between its original run and the likes of Alien Force, making it clear that although we're following the same character, these are two completely different stories. Side note, but Omniverse's art style deserves more respect. People clown on it solely for being different, when in reality, it's just if Ben 10 was drawn in the style of Teen Titans, and that's badass. But what I think a new Steven Universe needs above anything is to pivot to a young adult audience like Fiona and Cake. Granted, we don't know what young adult exactly means, but if they're really saying the original run of Adventure Time and even Distant Lands doesn't constitute young adult with all the risque and mature content they did fit in, they gotta be pushing boundaries and breaking barriers, which is something both Adventure Time and Steven Universe already excelled at. Who knows, maybe instead of TV PG, Fiona and Cake will be TV 14. But to continue Steven Universe in the most meaningful way imaginable, I think it does need this pivot. Continue to age up Steven a few years, make him Cartoon Network's Goku, in the sense that we see him go from a young child to a fully grown adult who's fully mastered his abilities. I mean shit, OG Dragon Ball's last arc featured an adult Goku, just like how Future gave us 20 episodes of 16-year-old Steven. So now, give us that Steven Universe Z, with a Steven who's entering his early 20s. Allow him to continue to grow up with the people who were touched by his story as kids. Not to mention, an explicitly adult Steven Universe series negates the NPC mentality that they're brainwashing the youth with their gay propaganda, since a lot of those Twitter drones like to claim those stories should be reserved for adult media anyway. But I do firmly believe there's plenty of stories that can fit in the world of Steven Universe that at the same time wouldn't have fit in the version of Steven Universe that's a kid's show. Also, streaming thrives off of serialized stories that enables fan engagement, so we probably wouldn't have to worry about the previous series formats of getting gem lore for 2 or 3 episodes, followed by what feels like endless towny side quests. I'm not even saying this needs to be a series. Honestly, I would just prefer more movies so there's innately less time to fuck around. But at the same time, there's probably a lot they could do in a TV show format just off the premise of Steve is an adult, living on his own, facing off against new threats. And now here's the part that might make you cry. My selfish reasons for wanting Steven Universe back into the world with new content. Grief is a central theme of Steven Universe, explored in many, many ways. And although I dealt with grief before, I feel closer to the series than ever after this year. You see, back in January, I suddenly lost my partner, Emily, in an accident. She was my ruby and I was her sapphire. And early into our relationship, I got her into Steven Universe. Like, really into Steven Universe. It changed her life and was a show she shared with her siblings who identified and connected with the show just as much. When Steven Universe Future ended, I wasn't watching the finale on stream, screaming my hyperactive ass off like with the last 2 seasons. I was watching it with her in our apartment. When I last said goodbye to Steven Universe, she was by my side. Her mom brought back her apartment key still attached to her lanyard, and aside from the key, the only thing on there was the garnet keychain I gave her a long time ago. All I could do for a moment was just stare and hold back tears. I don't think I'd classify myself as doing good or even okay now. I don't know what I feel anymore. It hasn't even been 6 months, and I miss her every moment of every day. And now that I know Rebecca and Ian are ready to make more, I feel like I desperately need it, because maybe, just maybe, if I'm able to return to this world, I'll be able to spend time with her again. At the very least, this series could be an aid in navigating these complicated emotions, and how to grow new parts of myself to replace the parts that died with her. And I think a lot of people who were once fan of the series, dealing with their own losses, may feel the same way. But to end this video on a positive note, Ian, Rebecca, if you get around to watching this, there are some very talented people who I want to recommend for a new project should it ever come to fruition. My friends Mackenzie Atwood, Rebecca Rose Boza, Michael Williams, and Mike Austin. People whose friendships were formed through Steven Universe and making Steven Universe content. People who now work in the animation industry doing amazing things. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'd love to bring my A game on the series as a writer. I think I have quite the catalog to prove that I can provide interesting ideas to the series at large. But considering they're the ones already in the industry, if you get the chance to make a new Steven Universe series, I really hope you keep them all in mind, because they would all help elevate this franchise to incredible heights. With all of this being said, I want to know what you all think about the idea of Steven Universe returning. I definitely want to commit to making new Steven Universe content in 2022, delivering my own hot takes and diving into the world in new ways. So if you want to know how progress on that is going, please consider following my socials at OstricVox on Twitter and Instagram. Thank you all so much for watching, and I hope you have an awesome day. See you later.